A very good afternoon to everyone present here. My special respects to my co-speaker, Alpana ma'am. And I'm really thankful, in fact, first of all, let me start with a thanking note. I'm thankful to USTM for giving me this opportunity, inviting me, especially on this National Civil Services Day. And ma'am has already spoken at length. She has created the framework in which maybe, when I speak, it becomes more meaningful to you. And before I start speaking on the topic, I would again like to thank Ma'am Alpana ma'am for making me feel as if I was in college. So, I'm myself a political science student. I graduated in political science honors from St. Xavier's College, Calcutta. And so it becomes more relevant to me. And to get to the topic, in fact, public administration skills in enhancing democratic principles in India. So, my way of speaking will be more informal, more interactive, okay? So I'll make you speak without even giving you the mic. When we talk about public administration, ma'am has said about permanent executives and political executives. To start with, let me break a lot of misconceptions, which I know many of the seniors also have. I'm sure that you will appreciate that what I speak from a personal experience. And these are things which are not taught in the schools, colleges, or not even your training academies. So, when it comes to this permanent executives taking the country ahead, political executives, coming and going. This is a discourse which keeps on going, and many of the aspirants and many of the newcomers to the services, they also take it that way, and they take it pretty seriously. So that tends to dislodge the general interest of the country. When we start discounting the political executives and saying that the civil servants actually rule the country, you know what happens? I should blame a bit of Indian movies also, for having this, creating this disjunction between the political executives and the permanent executives, as if all politicians are bad and all civil servants are good. So, what happens on the ground? Like when it comes to the permanent executives, yes, as permanent executives, we are the keepers of the institutional memory. When somebody comes and goes, we keep the memories alive. Because we know that how it was 10 years ago, how the system was and how the process was running. We can update our political executives that way. Look, this has been the procedures, these have been the precedents. So the person gets into a better position to take decisions. Yes, we can influence, as permanent executives, we can influence the general course of administration, the general course of the thought process towards which the country is moving. But there is no disjoint between this permanent executive and the political executive, in the sense that when we talk about democracy, back to the subject, when we talk about the democracy and we see the skills required for enhancing democratic principles. So what are the democratic principles which we are trying to protect or to promote? When we say about democracy, the old, perhaps the most popular definition of democracy is government of the people, by the people, for the people. So, the ethics or the approach of public administration of public servants is broadly towards that. So, once we say that it is government of the people, what does that mean? It means the government owned by the people, isn't it? It's the ownership of the government. Government by the people. So, the government is supposed to be run by the people and not by public servants. So, who comes with this by the people? They are the political representatives, isn't it? And government for the people. There comes the role of, permanent so-called civil servants. That we have to ensure that the government is for the people. So the overall tenor of the governance should be directed that it should cater towards public interest and not personal interests. So in this whole definition, when it comes in play, democracy, you see that the political executive and the so-called permanent executive, they have to work in tandem to keep this government of the people, by the people, for the people. If there is a disjunction, there is the problem. There are a lot of challenges coming before our permanent executives, with changing political setups, the changing the political narrative. And it is not new. It has been coming on since the democracy has come in action. There comes the role of public servants to guide the political executives, to maintain that steel frame with the spines of steel, and stand up and say, this is not in public interest. We cannot fight with our political executives. That idea which has been created by the cinema, that we have to fight, no, it's wrong. It's completely wrong. What we need to do is, we have to educate the political executives, because the political executives come up with something, that representing lakhs of people behind them. So when they speak for public interest, definitely. Because they come up, they ask the permanent executive, like, look, this has to be done this way. So they are speaking the mind of the people. The way they speak, or the speed with which they want us to deliver, may be not practical. There comes our role, the role of the permanent executive, to hold the ground. Given our training, given our exposure in governance, we need to perhaps speak out to them, tell them, guide them, that yes, it is doable. And if it is doable, this is the way of doing it. And if it is not doable, why it is not doable. But the glitch is here that somehow the permanent executive trying to seek the permanence of their interests tend to forget this part. They tend to play to the demands, the temporary demands, which may not really be in public interest. So there comes the problem. That is a place where I believe that the permanent executives, that they cannot be taught. They cannot be taught. They cannot be trained. This is something which comes at a personal level. Your ethics are pretty personal. It cannot be taught in an academy. You bring it from your home. Your approach towards life is also personal. You really cannot be trained. You can be trained. You can be trained with you can be given the tools to solve situations, to ensure that you are able to handle circumstances. But this ethics, these cannot be taught in school, colleges, training institutions, or even while you are working. So I believe that permanent executives really do the roles which are assigned to them only when they come up and they maintain those basic ethics, they maintain those basic principles which are pretty personal, and they always remember this, as ma'am said about this, the rights, the fundamental rights of the Constitution. They should understand, when we understand that we are here in public interest, when we understand that we are public servants, and we understand the both words clearly, public and servant, then only I believe that we'll be able to deliver for what we are recruited. Yes, the skills for enhancing democratic principles. So what are those skills? Those skills, I believe, is first of all remembering the basic ethos that we are here to ensure the democratic principles of liberty, equality, political freedom, rule of law. So when we ensure that whatever we do, whichever way we work, whatever steps or stands we take are finally directed towards that, the larger goal of democracy. The skills on ground you might be observing yourselves, like you'll be finding public servants right from the level of the circle office at the ground level to the police station to the ground level to the highest echelons of administration. And you'll be knowing them personally or through the news media or through the books. And you'll yourself appreciate whether the vision which Sardar Patel saw when he created the All India Services or this whole gamut of civil service steel frame, whether it is successful or not, it is, you can always, you see, it is a personal experience, what I believe. Because many times people say that corruption बढ़ गया है, government में काम नहीं होता है, you know. Most of it is narrative. This is not fact. Once for a while you forget what you saw on television. You forget what you read in the newspaper. You forget what people are discussing. You speak about your personal interaction, your personal experience with administration. Perhaps that will be the true color of administration. In a nutshell, if we try to understand skills in enhancing democratic principles of public administration, I believe these are shared skills which are shared by the society and the civil servants also. Because you cannot expect really your DC or your SP to completely change the profile of a district. The skills, yes, there will be skills, there will be innovation. A lot of officers do their own local innovations. They innovate their ways, how they deliver their services. I have also done my own innovations. So, but there has to be an ownership by the people also. When you say it's a government of the people, so if you lose the ownership, if people lose the ownership, you give your ownership to someone, and somebody else is deciding for you, but the responsibility lies upon us as a society. So there is a place where we need to speak up, we need to stand up, we need especially educated classes like you, we need to put across what we understand about the overall administrative setup. All of you, I think most of you, the course which you have taken up, you call it BAG, Bachelor of Administration, Bachelor of Arts in Administration and Governance. So, this is a very interesting, in fact, subject, and I believe that right from now, when you are studying this subject, and you should get in the correct frame of mind, when if you tend to join civil service, you try to understand civil service. Even the narratives which are built around, we have members of faculties here also, that this narrative of disjunction between the permanent executives and the political executives. This we need to understand somewhere. Because when you join the system, when you join the civil service, when you join the system, many of people go, even in UPSC interview boards, they say that, we want to change the system. We want to change this, we want to change that. But we must be clear in head that when you join the civil services, we join to maintain the system, not break the system or change the system. The system has been set up. We work through a set of rules. We work under a set of procedures and process. So we cannot really change the system. So, the very approach, and this is a problem even which our society faces, that the expectations from the administrators is as if they will change the systems. This is a problem, you change the system. We should rather ask for actually maintaining the system and enforcing the system as it is. In India, we have a lot of scholars here sitting, in fact, our faculties, they will be knowing better, that in the Indian system is a very high level of, it's a very high grade system. We have our, the mechanisms put up in such a way that if implemented well, believe me, it does not need anything else to be done to give good governance to the society. The only problem which nowadays a civil servant, what I have also faced and I have been seeing, is when we start playing to the gallery. When we start responding to the demands from people also, from various parts of the society, as well as some political dispensation. When we start responding to their demands. There the problem arises. So the skills which we are talking about in enhancing the democratic principles, those skills would be perhaps not to respond to demands which take a color of public interest but are actually in personal interest. Our training which we have got, the experiences which we gather over years, we should be able to differentiate between what is in public interest, what is in personal interest. And the civil servants, if they start understanding this part, if they start understanding the theme of governance, that we are here in public interest, every act that I do or we do should be directed towards public interest, then only I believe that the feel of governance for the people will actually change on the ground. Only when we start responding and we start acting as per the procedures laid down in our books, as per the dictum of Mahatma Gandhi, as he said, that what actions or what would be the effect of the actions we take upon the most humble person in the society, like that he mentioned. So when we start working with those things in mind, I believe we will be somewhere nurturing the skills which will be helping the democratic principles of the society. So, before I would like to conclude this thing, there are certain things which I would like to share with the August gathering also, and I would like you to know that how things happen. Like many of you would have been following me very closely, maybe, and have been seeing me through last 2-3 years. So what has happened, how a lot of things have happened, you see. First of all, by the way, I was in Meghalaya. In Meghalaya only, I was posted initially in Meghalaya. I was mostly fighting militancy in Garo Hills. So my posting over here was SP South Garo Hills, Bagmara. So when the GNLA was there, so I was part of this Operation Hillstorm and everything. So during that part, again these questions used to come. There used to be a lot of gun battle. There used to be a lot of firefighting in the Garo Hills. And many of you would have heard, the seniors might be knowing, the times from 2012-13 till 2016-17, like that. So there, these things used to come, When we as public servants had to understand that if we have been given a direction, we have been asked to do something, whether it is in public interest or is it helping somebody's business interest. If we are engaging in a gun battle, is the gun battle needed? Do we really have to fire? Do we really have to be, in a democratic setup, do we really have to have, something like on a war footing, firing grenades and mortars and LMGs and all these big, like war type weapons? There were situations when we were faced with circumstances. I personally have faced circumstances where I have not fired. There are situations where I have stopped my fire because I knew that there is something behind, more to it than what it has been seen. So these were and there were a lot of other things which perhaps may not be okay to speak, but there were a lot of other things where somebody's personal interest, somebody's financial interest, somebody's, different business interest would have been benefited by my action as a public servant. I refused. And I faced further refusal also. That when we refused to act, you have to face certain accusations as if you darte ho, you are afraid, you are belittled. You face everything to take a stance in public interest. And that was one phase. On to Assam, like I was for a pretty long time, SP in Vigilance and Anti-Corruption. I was SP ACB Anti-Corruption branch in Assam Police also. So during that time also, there were situations which came across to us where people tried to, different type of people, even from civilians, they tried to use the office for pushing their ulterior motives. like इसको ACB से पकड़ा दो, उसमें pressure create होगा. You know, you give false FIRs, you accuse people of something which may appear superficially, yes, correct, but when you go deep inside, it's a created narrative. It's not the truth. So you come across such situations where your position is being used to promote somebody's personal and ulterior motives. And there, if I am a person who would like to hold on to my chair, this post is very cozy. I don't want to go out to Guwahati. I want to be posted here. I don't want any tough posting. I don't want my, perks and prerogatives to be snatched away. Then what do? I do not upkeep or I do not use my skills. That is for enhancing democratic principles. I take your liberty. I take away your freedom. I will not allow you to stay at home. मैं आपको उठा के लॉकअप डाल दूंगा. दिखता है पब्लिक इंटरेस्ट में काम करता हूँ. It appears we are working in public interest. The narrative is so built that it will all appear so good and cozy. Everybody will be convinced. Oh, क्या काम किया sir? Hero. I know what I have done. It was not heroic. So this is the place where public servants need to take their stand. They need to really prove that yes, they still the steel which was envisaged in 1947 was still rusted nahi hua abhi tak. Those are the positions. After that again, talking from my own experiences, I was posted as SP Charaideo, in Sonali. I was posted there also briefly. So there again, ठीक है, वहाँ के अपने experiences थे. Then I was posted to SP Dhubri. धुबरी का वो कुछ एक वीडियोस में बड़ा वायरल था, जिसके लिए आप लोग बहुत लोग मुझे जानते हैं, for that. What was behind that? What made people cry? Because that was a place, one of my most satisfactory tenures, where I kept my foot down. जिसको जो करना है कर लो, मैं वही करूँगा जो public interest में. That was the skill. That was, the skills regarding that, I had always tried to keep it up. And this, when you start working on the ground with those principles which are expected from a civil servant, it directly impacts the people. It directly affects the person. When you understand that the uniform which I wear is not for photographs. The uniform which I wear is to help you out of a situation. The banduk which I carry, the pistol which I carry, is not for Diwali Pataka. It is to protect you where required. So, when I understood that part, when there were situations, where people indirectly used to come up with certain things like, you see, this is a local trade, this is a local economy. You know what is local economy? Local economy is something which is मान लिया है कि वो तो चलेगा ही, आप उसका कुछ नहीं कर सकते. That has to go on. That is an understood thing. So when you say it's a local economy, you are trying to disturb a local economy. When they try to tell you that you're trying to become heroes, ज़्यादा hero बनते हो तुम. When they try to belittle you, when they try to pull you down, when they try to put names to you, they try to accuse you, they'll bring a lot of things, all sort of pressures that they can do, just so that you toe their line. The line of helping personal interests to flourish at the cost of public interest. So I believe on this National Civil Services Day, it is a reminder for all the public service definitely, that we are dedicated towards public service. That public service thing, because what I understand that joining civil services is not a job. Nobody who is searching for a job should join IAS, IPS or any service like that. ये नौकरी नहीं है. This is not a नौकरी to earn livelihood. This cannot be a job. If somebody is treating it a job, this will not happen. This is just not going to happen. The job में क्या होता है? आप job security खोजते हैं. A lot of things which comes with the job, you search for that. You seek to keep yourself established, not to disturb your, station. A lot of things like that. But when it comes to public service, I believe that this will happen, This skills in enhancing democratic principles will come only when each and every civil servant stops taking their profile as a job. It will happen when every civil servant will understand it as an opportunity, and a privileged opportunity to get to wield the powers of administration and governance, to get the authority, to get the responsibility, and to be actually responsible for development or no development of the society. So whenever we understand that we have not joined a job as a civil servant, then only I believe India as a country, India as a democracy will be benefited, and it will be flourishing with whatever, the democratic principles ki hum baat karte hain. Last but not the least, because there are a lot of youth here who may be aspiring to join the civil services, always know that you'll be part of if you join, you'll be part of a setup, you'll be part of a system. So never join with an idea that you'll change the system. The only best thing which you can do within the system is to enforce and to implement the system. And to implement and enforce the system as it is, and not the colored ways where it appears as if you are working for the system but you are not working for the system. So this should be your basic crux before you join. Do not join to change the system. अगर वो building को हम यहाँ अंदर से बैठ के कारीगरी करेंगे तो building सर पे गिर जाएगा. तो अगर system को बदलना है तो system से बाहर निकलिए पहले. Get out of the system and then change the system. So while being in the system, you cannot change the system. So this has to be clear. Within the political executives and public permanent executives, if political executive asks me, my approach, I'm telling you, my approach, if some public representatives ask me, I take it utmost seriously. पहले ही नहीं होना चाहिए, अरे यार ये ऐसा क्यों है? I take it utmost seriously. He is representing 1 lakh people, 1 million people, somewhere. He is not speaking for himself. He is speaking for the people, and I must listen to him. I must do what he is saying, but I should do my check backward checking whether this part is within the lawful, the directions are lawful or not. The request is in public interest or in personal interest. When I am sure of this, then I respond to the person. But I cannot belittle his authority. I can never ever tell that नहीं हो सकता है, because bureaucracy में नहीं हो सकता है का जो term, it doesn't work. You have to give him a way out. He keeps a demand. Look, I want this road to be expanded, suppose more, यहाँ से 20 मीटर और उसको चौड़ा करना है. दोनों तरफ लोग रहते हैं, आपको वहाँ पे उनको हटाना पड़ेगा. कैसे करना है? सर, इटू तो ना हो, ये तो नहीं होगा. किस बात का ब्यूरोक्रेसी, किस बात के परमानेंट executives? If you are not able to deliver to a demand of a public servant, then I have to get back. I have to do my homework. I have to understand that how best we can do, and I have to put up the proposals to him. Look, these are the ways in which you can do it. But बहुत सारे लोग क्या करते हैं? उसको कर दो, अगला दिन अरे फोड़ो तोड़ो सब हटाओ, सामने बोला इसको हटा दो, सब हटा दो. सर कोई सर अच्छा होना, सब अच्छा आदमी. ये भी एक सर्वेंट, पब्लिक सर्वेंट का क्वालिटी होता है. और दूसरा पब्लिक सर्वेंट सुनता है, यस सर आपने सही कहा, मैं इसको करके सर आपको प्रेजेंटेशन देता हूँ. I'll tell you how we can best do it. Then I'll come with a proposal. This is plan A, this is plan B, this is plan C. These are the 3 ways in which we can do, or these are the pros of it, or these are the cons of it. Now you do your judgment how to do. But if it comes that it's going to be against law, or in the public, against the public interest, I must guide him. This is going to create problems. This is not going to give solutions. You are creating problems rather than giving solutions. This has to be that work of that steel frame, which Sardar Patel was talking. Fortunately, unfortunately, I don't know how it is, but many times as public servants, most of the public servants are still maintaining that thing, which the steel frame is still there. But again, as it is, the black sheeps are everywhere. There are people, because of what the expectations of the political executives also change. वो तो कर दिया, तुमको क्या ज्यादा हीरो बनते हो? If he can do, why you cannot do? Get lost, he will do it. So these are challenges which come because the political executive is not wrong in replacing the person. He is correct because he wants his work to be done and rightly so. उसका आपने उसीलिए elect किया ना उनको काम ही कराने के लिए, तो वो तो काम करा रहे हैं, उनमें क्या गलत है? He is doing exactly what he should do and अपनी जगह पे political executive is correct. Who fails is we. Who fails them? Who fails you is we. Because if all of us start telling in the same line, all of us start taking the same position, हम सब तो एक ही ट्रेनिंग एकेडमी से पढ़ के आते हैं, isn't it? तो वो वहाँ ग्लिच कैसे हो जाता है? That is a personal thing. So we must not understand or take or treat somebody as a hero or treat somebody as a villain. Because believe me, all of us come with the same training, all of us get in the same position to work, all of us work with the same set of political executives, but still somebody shines and somebody not so. So there comes this personal thing. Lastly, to the August House, I would always like to request that only if the society is supportive to their civil service, only if the society is reflects correctly, towards the civil service will always perform. We are trained to perform. Whenever there are situations, आजकल के ज़माने में क्या हो गया है कि civil services are supposed to be something or someone who should be working in the background. They should not be seen. Bureaucrats are not supposed to be seen. Civil servants are not supposed to be seen. But in this reinventing of governance, which is happening, where the governance, the whole system, the good governance has been reinvented, where the interactions have increased so much, where the facilities have to reach to your doorsteps. In a situation where this mass media and social media has almost conquered the whole setup, it has become very difficult to maintain that secrecy of or maintain that undercover working style of even the bureaucracy. A lot of bureaucrats become suddenly very visible. I am one of them who becomes very visible. But now how you use that visibility, that is important. Now there comes this skill again. Now you will, when you see, even for me I can speak when we start promoting public interest, when we start directing even this interface in a way that we are serving public interest, then even this takes a positive, overall view. But if that turns into, like which I myself am telling you in an open house, which I really don't enjoy, when I see many people cheering for me and all, as a person, yes, you like it, but you really do not enjoy it as a public servant. It feels like dharti phad jaye, main andar chala jaun types. So you really do not enjoy it. But when these things happen with you, it becomes very difficult to balance it out. Because public servants should be somebody who should be working from the behind the screens rather than from in the front of the screens. For that place, the stage is made for the political executives. We are the greenhouse workers, जो पीछे में काम करते हैं, हमें वो होना चाहिए. But somehow, because of all these things, the things have turned out to be like this, that we are pulled into the arena, we are pulled into visibility. Now how we use our visibility means a lot. This has become another challenge, this has become another skill to how do we handle this visibility to promote public interest and not really personal interest. So let's say this is again a challenge for me also, where I'm juggling to, trying to understand and appreciate the life situation into which I myself now put into, and how I can work best that this also goes towards public interest. So, with all those notes, like skills for enhancing democratic principles in India, the public administration skills, it is something personal, I believe. If somebody is clear in the head that what someone wants, if somebody understands that at the end of the day we are public servants, at the end of the day we have got an opportunity to work, when we understand these things and we are ready to take some setbacks in public interest, then I believe that is the best satisfaction which comes. No reward, no recognition, no medals are bigger than the medals or the recognition which comes directly from our customers, that's the public. So on that note, I wish this National Civil Services Day keeps refreshing the society as well as the civil servants about the roles and responsibilities that have been bestowed upon us. I wish that many of you also join the civil services with these ideas of getting, I mean, with the view or with the understanding that you will be getting into a lot of responsibilities after joining the civil services. It is less about of power, it is less of authority, it is less of anything, it is more of responsibility. I wish that whosoever joins civil services joins with the notion that they have not joined it for a livelihood. Civil services cannot give you livelihood. You have joined it to serve. You have joined it to realize the higher values of life. Once these things come in, believe me, if all the civil servants imbue these ideas, they understand that this is an opportunity that we have got. We understand that this is the way of achieving self-realization. Then that day, the skills will start emanating by itself. Those are skills which will be enhancing the democratic principles, in India. And the times which are as of now, which all of us are seeing, are such that we need to have this balanced approach in civil services, where we have to understand that civil services will always cater to the whosoever is the government, whosoever. But we have to understand that we must not let the public interest take a backseat over anybody's personal interest or our own self-interest. So if these things are there, I'm sure this National Civil Services Day will be still relevant in the coming years, and we live up to the expectations, we live up to the reason for celebrating this National Civil Services Day. It should not turn that gradually we lose the need, the necessity of having a civil service. Because a lot of things are coming up, if you are following it, the metamorphosis of civil services, the way things have been changing, where the new concept of technocrats have come with bureaucrats. New concepts, have come wherein, the police officers taking up civil jobs, the civil servants taking up technical things, technical people taking administrative things. So a lot of things have been churning up and changing. So in this upcoming days, we will have a new civil face of civil services to see, and hope they also perform to the ideas which Sardar Patel had laid down. So with that, I would like to close, the serious deliberation which we were making, and maybe we'll be open for questions, and maybe the questions will be more interactive, and that may become more interesting also. So thank you for listening me. Thank you for letting me speak my mind. Thank you so much.